Hello, Taylor Ellwood here, and welcome to Magical Experiments. Today, we're going to talk about how to protect against curses. And as you know, I've been doing a little series here on curses, how they work, and karmic aspects. Well, let's talk about whether or not, if you're the recipient of a curse, how do you handle it? Let's say you figure that out, and you're like, something seems off here. I'm my experiences are aligning in such a way where I'm feeling cursed and I feel like somebody's working against me and all these other things. How would you protect against it? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you, always take a proactive approach. If you recognize there are people out there who don't like you and they have any ounce of spiritual chutzpah to them, any spiritual essence, then and an ability to direct it, then just plan on the fact that you may want to be proactive in your protections. My approach to spirit work, to magical work in general, is and specifically dealing with curses, is to set up proactive protections in the forms of wards. So I have wards set up around my house and on my land, which activate. And wards are basically a specific magic technology where what I'll do is set it up so that it activates if something happens. Like if X happens, then Y. Kind of that kind of thing. And that's what a ward is. So like I might set up a ward where if somebody sends a spirit after me, the ward activates and it captures the spirit, or it redirects the spirit. And that's just a simple example, but you get the idea. The other thing I do, aside from setting up wards, is I also have made connections with the spirits of the land that I live on, as well as specific types of spirits that I work with. And I have set up shrines for them in my home. And what I end up doing is I set it up so that those spirits are active and aware and able to work on either, getting in, basically stopping the curses, or halting them in their tracks, or providing some type of protection or something else along those lines. So having some spirit allies can be really useful. The other thing I do is I do a daily working where I refresh my connection with the energy of the land and the energy of my space. And I do this as a way of connecting with the spirits, but also with myself. And I use that as a form of protection magic too. So I might do, a simple daily ritual and meditation where I'm aligning with the powers that be, both the above and the below, and go from there. What kind of land spirits? Well, I would say, for example, with the spirits of my property, that I might work with the spirits of the trees. I might work with the spirits of the elemental spirits of the area, things along those lines, where you're connecting, and also like the spirit of my home. My home has a spirit, so I could connect with that as well. The other thing that I'll do is I'll do kind of like an energetic refresh where I'll cleanse myself energetically. That kind of goes with the daily ritual, so I think that helps. The one thing that I always think about too is like I'm really wary of like what I accept or don't accept from people. I had somebody once send me a gift and try to curse me through the gift, and that got underneath my threshold. So it was a very clever approach, but when I figured it out and got rid of it, that changed things very quickly. And I worked against that person after that. If I've had somebody come over and try to connect with me in a malignant way, well, I'll cleanse their energy or their connection to the area. I'll do a banishing to basically move their energy on, and to move, yeah, and also set up a working where they basically end up becoming discouraged from connecting with me. And of course, I'll also use the power of blocking, i.e., block someone's contact from contacting you. Because I mean, why put up with unhealthy behaviors, right? Why put up with an unhealthy contact? I think that blocking is kind of a modern form, if you will, of a ward or a protection magic. And if we infuse that with intent, that in and of itself can become a very powerful form of protection for ourselves. When I look at it too, I also ask myself, like, in terms of protection, like, where are my weaknesses? Where are the areas that somebody might try and hurt me? It could be relationships in my life. So what can I do to strengthen and protect those relationships? How can I make sure that I show up? What magic can I do? So I might do some mercurial planetary magic around communication, or some Venus magic or something like that as a form of protection. Um, I might draw upon the power of limitation, and set up boundaries and limits around, this is where a good binding can come into place. Like, okay, if you know that someone's going to potentially be harming you, then do a binding on them. And some people might say, well, maybe I should wait until something happens. My response to that is, be proactive. Like, why wait? If you know that someone genuinely means you ill will, don't wait. Protect yourself. Be smart about it. Be proactive, because the last thing you need to do is set up a working, or a situation where somebody can exploit you. And if somebody already has an angle in, they may try and do just that. I mean, I've had that experience before too. And so what I've done is I've detangled myself. I've done cord cuttings and things like that from unhealthy connections. And then, I even once changed the locks on my door. It was a good example, because it was like, well, I didn't want this particular person to have access to my home. They had a key. I hadn't gotten it back from them. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to actually just change the locks anyway. And I did it as a magical act, where I was essentially locking out any connection. So, I mean, you can do that too. The important thing is that you take proactive approaches to your spiritual well-being, and your mental and emotional and physical well-being as well. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm taking kung fu lessons. And part of that is just learning a martial art, because I want to learn it for myself. It brings me a sense of joy and purpose, and it helps me to connect with that warrior energy within myself. But part of it is also a magical act of, by learning this, I am already, and learning these movements and everything else, I am learning how to proactively defend myself on a spiritual level as well as a physical level. So I recommend taking that kind of approach as well. It can make a significant difference, and it can be really empowering for you, because you can say, like, I've I've done something proactive here. I've learned how to defend myself, so that somebody on many different levels of my being. All of these skills can make a significant difference in your approach to dealing with a curse. And perhaps the most important thing too in dealing with a curse is just consider, how much power do you want to give this situation? If you find yourself worrying that you've been cursed, part of part of the power of that situation is how you respond to it. I'm not saying you should ignore it and pretend like nothing happened, but don't feed into it any more than you have to. Do your spiritual work, and then go on with your life. And you'll find that you can course correct pretty quickly, and that things will get better for you, because you've done whatever work you need to do to protect yourself. You've done whatever work you need to do to cleanse yourself. I mean, a good house cleaning is a great example of that. I have done I have done house cleanings where I'm not just cleaning the physicality of my home, I'm cleaning the energy of my home. And by cleaning all of that, I am clearing out the energy, and bringing in my own energy, and kind of bringing in stuff that is healthy and positive. And I'm also connecting with the spirits of the land and the home and all that other stuff. anytime I do an action on my land, for example, I'm connecting with the spirits. And so I see that as a form of renewing that bond, and at the same time setting up the protections again and again and again. So all of these are things to consider in your own spiritual work, and they can make a significant difference in how you show up in the world. All right, that's it on this topic. Hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.